This segment on Native American dolls is based on Robin Bernstein's book, Racial Innocence, Performing American Childhood from Slavery to Civil Rights. In her book, Bernstein describes racial innocence as a form of deflection, a not knowing or obliviousness that can be made politically useful. Bernstein explains that during the late 19th and early 20th centuries, white doll manufacturers did not, as a rule, position Native American or other non-black dolls of color as crucial to doll communities. The underlying logic that made black dolls and not Native American dolls seem necessary emerges through examinations of E.I. Horstman Company's Babyland catalog of approximately 1904. Babyland was a geographically imagined space materialized in the pages of its advertising booklet and populated by 14 dolls. The white dolls included Little Miss Fancy, Beauty, Lady, Dorothy, and Little Jack Robinson. Black inhabitants of Babyland included Topsy and Aunt Dinah. The catalog included a pair of racially polarized baby dolls, the white Little Blossom and the coal black baby, who wore identical christening dresses as well as a topsy-turvy doll. The final page of the Babyland catalog explicitly urged a child to collect all the dolls. A girl who did so and who placed the dolls in her bedroom would cause that nursery to reproduce the landscape of Babyland, an imaginary geographical territory. But while most doll makers of the late 19th century were based in the North, such as Horstman, who operated out of New York, when white doll makers created these objects, they did not aim to represent the postbellum northern urban landscape in which the doll makers often lived. Rather, the doll land these manufacturers constructed was the romanticized plantation south of the Lost Cause. By collecting these dolls and arranging them in the contained space of the individual bedroom, a child caused the nursery to echo the Babyland catalog, to model an imagined benign plantation. In the context of this plantation wonderland, the near universal presence of black dolls and the relative absence of Native American dolls or other dolls of color makes sense because many lost causers imagined the plantation in racially dyadic terms that erase non-black people of color. In the hands of white girls, soft black dolls persisted, told stories about endurance, and conjured a lost cause wonderland. Conversely, the form of the cuddly doll was uniquely unsuited to tell stories about vanishing Native Americans or the frontier that officially closed only a dozen years before the publication of the Babyland catalog. Non-cuddly Native American figurines were integral to the floor games that the writer H.G. Wells famously played with his sons. These games enacted stories of empire, of civilization and savagery, of war and death, and of the wonderland of the American frontier. In these floor games, the boys and their father used boards to build miniature islands, archipelagos, wildernesses, and cities on the nursery floor. The Welleses then populated their terrain with small, hard, rigid dolls, most notably lead soldiers and figurines of Red and the boys and their father played games of invasion and conquer, games that frankly modeled imperialist visions. For H.G. Wells, these games had the practical value of, quote, building up a framework of spacious and inspiring ideas in the boys for afterlife, end quote. Wells believed this development of spacious ideas contributed directly and literally to imperialist ventures by explicitly saying, quote, the British Empire will gain new strength from nursery floors, end quote. Wells' belief in the literal political power of children's play echoes Alice Minnie Hertz Henninger's belief in the culture power of imaginative performance. These floor games told violent stories about wilderness and war. The games modeled imperialism by granting a child panoptic vision over territorial battles. The boy is outside the action, aloof, all-powerful. He holds small, hard figurines in his hand and deploys them with chess-like movements. According to Bernstein, violence was explicitly foregrounded and celebrated in floor games. These floor games involving hard figurines of soldiers and natives played out geographical fantasies and were openly political, not innocent. According to this January 15, 2021 blog post, in Wells's words, then there were the fortresses and gun emplacements and covered ways in which once soldiers went. And there was commerce, sent off by wagons along the great military road to the beleaguered fortress, on the frontier beyond the warm places that were dismal swamps. And there were battles on the way. That grade road is still clear in my memory. I was given, I forget by what benefactor, certainly particularly fierce red of lead, I have never seen such soldiers since, and for these my father helped me to make teepees of brown paper, and I settled them in a hitherto desolate country under the frowning nail-studded cliffs of an ancient trunk. Then I conquered them and garrisoned their land. Alas, they died, no doubt through contact with civilization, one my mother trod on, and their land became a wilderness again and was ravaged for a time by a clockwork crocodile of vast proportions. And out towards the coal scuttle was a region near the impassable thickets of the ragged hearthrug where lived certain China, brandishing spears, and a mountain country of rudely piled bricks concealing the most devious and enchanting caves and several mines of gold and silver paper.